Hi, I'm Carla,
And I'm Melanie.
and we're the board game specialists. How do we call ourselves that?
We just give ourselves the title.
Yes. Also, we have played over 2,200 games collectively over the last year. We research tons of games, we watch videos, we listen to other podcasts.
We
What we're going to
actually
start
live
with
and breathe
today.
board games.
What's that? Sorry?
We live and breathe board
We
games.
do. Yep. Wake up in the morning, think about our board games, how we're going to play them, who we're going to play with. But let's talk about how we began in board gaming. Like, what is your beginning?
Yeah, I know for myself, board games has always been around. Me and my siblings played board games all the time. My mom would do yard sales a lot, and she would buy every board games that she'd come across. Plus, I'm from an Acadian family, so card games was huge.
Yes, us
How
too.
about you, Carla?
Yes, lots of card games. But as a small child, I do remember getting my first memory game, and I played a ton of that with my dad, my brother. But I can still remember the backs of the cards, just the pattern that was on there. It just brought me so much joy, even back then. Just my first little simple game. We played games like Probe. I don't know if you know that word game. Of course, Monopoly, Story, Life, Payday, Checkers, Chess, Careers, Face Off, Frame It, all kinds of different games. What about you as a kid? What did you play?
You know, I remember playing tons of Mastermind. That was one that
yes.
my aunt had, and every time I was at her house, we played that one.
Yes,
Like
me
I
and my
mentioned,
brother played
card
a lot of
games.
that.
We'd play Boggle with
Yes.
the word dice.
Yeah.
We would play. Oh, my mom had gotten at one of the yard sale games she'd brought was Stop Thief.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one
That
too.
was so neat. With the you followed the noise, trying to figure out where on the map you were and trying to get the thief. So that was a cool one.
Yeah. Although games were different back then, there was, a few that, like you said, Mastermind, it's coming back. I mean, everyone's
still have
playing
it.
Wordle. I'm still trying to find the word Mastermind game. It's out of print. You can buy.
I've never come across that one before.
Yeah, it's on eBay, but they want a little bit of money for that one. And it looks like a piece of junk, too. So they need to modernize it, make a new one. It'll sell.
Restoration game needs to
Yes,
do it.
exactly. There you go. So after, as a child, like as a young adult, I know with a bunch of couples, we would always play party games, tons and tons of party games,
Yeah.
Taboo, Pictionary, Balderdash, Mad Gab, all those fun games.
And that seems
Sort
like to
of,
be how it was like when you grew up, and then
Yeah.
it's kind of like, okay, you're playing all these board games as a kid, and then as you become an adult, then it's like, okay, the party games. And that's all that I knew. That's all that I came across at first. I didn't realize there was so many other games out there.
yeah. Yeah, we never continued to play the Monopolies and stuff as young adults. It was only party games. But we did it a lot with lots of young couples. And then having kids, I know, like, I seem to buy every single learning game possible for them, to teach them the time, money, just all types of reading games. It was sort of, I collected everything I possibly could. Because I wanted my kids to learn to read because I had them in French immersion. So I wanted them to read English before they went to grade 1 because they never learned any English until grade 3, I think. There was just all French.
Right.
What about you with your kids?
You know what? With my kids, I did the mistake of getting Candyland. And I'm saying it's a mistake because they wanted to play
They liked it.
and then I would sit down and play, and it was horrible. It was the most boring game to play ever. And then as much as they enjoyed it, and then I got to the point where it's like, oh, not Candyland again. And I was like, and that was one thing I say, like, as a parent wanting to spend quality time with your kids playing games, make sure it's a game that everybody enjoys, not just the kids.
Yes, because you'll be playing it 1,000 times.
Oh my God. And Candyland was just so bad.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh no, I don't want to play this anymore. So I kind of, when the kids were little, and I have two boys, so they were, the Hot Wheels was big, and then so we kind of do that a little bit more, and then I kind of back away a bit from the board games just because I did not want to play
those dumb ones yet. Oh, I know. We played, that's when the Monopoly and the Life and the Sorry all came back. They loved them. They wanted to play them over and over. Guess Who, which was one of my childhood ones. Then I did find the brand Cranium that had some really good kids ones. Zurika, Caribou, Cadu. Those were actually fun. They actually had some...
Caribou and Cadu, I had that when it got a little bit older, and then it became fun again.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, that made it fun. So, yeah, I had tried to develop little gamers, not even knowing I was a gamer at the time. But then what game brought you into the modern board game hobby? Like, what did you start to play?
We had Catan, and we would play Catan all the times. And I mean, like, for a year or more, like, that was the only game I knew of. And then that was the game we'd pull out and play Catan. So there was really no other game until on my birthday in 2017. My brother sucks. When he gets a board, like when he gives a gift, he wants to tell you right away. So he just called me. He's like, I bought you a board game for your birthday. And he's like, do you want me to tell you what it is? I was like, no. I was like, but give me a hint because I'm curious. So he's like, well, King is in the title. So I went on Google and I was like, board game King, and then King of Tokyo came out.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm looking on Google at the picture of the game King of Tokyo. And I'm like, why is he getting me a kid's game? Because looking at the cover,
it totally looks like a kid's game.
It looks like a simple kid's game. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I guess I'll play it with the boys. So I was like, okay, whatever. So I wasn't kind of super thrilled about it. Or, I wasn't super excited about it. It just looked like I was getting a kid's game. But then, so on my birthday, by the time my birthday came along, he came over, and he also brought Dominion, and he also brought Lord of Waterdeep.
Oh.
And we ended up playing those games. So we played Lord of Waterdeep, which is a worker placement game, and it's amazing. I mean, like, and it's a good entry-level game as well for somebody who's brand new to the hobby. So got playing that one for the first time. And then we're playing Dominion and all the deck building and all the card option, and that was completely different. And then even King of Tokyo is a great game. It looks like such a childish game, but you get playing and it's fun. And then I kind of backed up. I was like, oh, wow. And my brother's like, yeah, I know. All these games are out there and we don't even know about them. so that was
the discovery is the best part.
That was the exact day when everything changed.
Wow.
And all of a sudden I went going through my collection because I had games that had been given to me that I had never played, and turned out that I had Betrayal of House on the Hill.
Oh, yeah.
And I had never played it, never punched it. So we opened that up, played it with the kids. And that was when I realized, oh my God, my kids can play cool games now.
Yeah.
And this one is crazy amazing. Just the scenario and the way it develops. And it was, and then I had Puerto Rico.
Oh, that's
so
a good one.
Me and the kids opened Puerto Rico. We played it. We went around one turn and we're like, kind of looked at each other. And then the kids kind of looked at me. He's like, what are you making us do?
that was pushing it.
I was like, you know what? We don't have to play this one ever again. And packed it up and closed it up. That was, as great as Lord of Waterdeep was an entry-level game, Puerto Rico is not.
No,
you don't
definitely
start
not.
there.
Not something you stick in front of a new gamer or a non-gamer.
Exactly. So that one was a dud the first time we played it. I still own it. We've played it again years later, and I love it. It's an amazing game, but you don't start there.
No.
What about you? What was the games that got you going?
Well, I think it probably was Catan. Like, I have a hard time remembering the first one I played, but I think it was Catan at a friend's, and it didn't really spark right then, because I went home and then I think I ended up buying it and played it with the kids and my husband, and then from there I looked into other games, and somehow I found Tom Vassell and the Dice Tower.
Oh, wow.
And then I, researched other games, and then I ended up getting Stone Age, Carcassonne, And those are what triggered my love and passion for games. Just realizing, because I did find Catan still a little bit luck driven, just with the dice, and I have terrible dice luck, card luck as well. And that was one thing with modern board games. I could actually manipulate things, and it's not all about my luck, because I have terrible luck. I could actually use a strategy to, do well in games. And I think that's what, just drew me in, is the fact that, I'm not going to just always lose because I have bad luck. I have a chance because I can, do things with the dice or the cards. It's not all about just what you pick up and draw. Then I know I did play Pandemic, and my first full out love was viticulture. That was probably my favorite first modern board game. Love it. I still love it. Game. It's one of my favorite games. I did also buy Alhambra, which was, are kind of these both are Euro games, which I love. Those are probably some of my favorite games. But
yeah, that one's great too.
That's kind of what drew me in. Whereas especially viticulture, Carcassonne. I still love playing Carcassonne. It's like doing a puzzle, but it's a game. I love puzzles. So I keep getting all the expansions for that one. I know you had posted something with a little bridge. Like it was a Carcassonne page on one of your, I think, Instagram posts. And I'm like, there's a bridge? I didn't know there was bridges. So now I got the bridge. What is it? Bridges, Castles, and Bazaars. And I don't really have a lot of people who love to play that one. Like my one gaming partner that I play with all the time, she doesn't really like this game. But I force my husband and sometimes my kids to play this one.
Well,
what about you? Any other?
Because there's playing the board game, like coming across the board games and start getting the games. How do you fit it in? Like how much do you play, or how often do you play?
Well, I play 3 times a week minimum. I have one gaming friend that we get together 3 times a week in the evenings and play. During the week, we play for about 3 to 4 hours. And then on the weekend, we usually play for just about 8 hours in a session. And then, of course, whenever I can get my family to play, sometimes my husband will give me a whole half a day to play games. He knows I love it. I can get my kids to play the odd time. And then some Mondays, I always have a family sup with my brother's family and my dad, and we'll play cards sometimes after. But other than the conventions that I look forward to going to, or game days, like you'll host a game day sometimes, that's my gaming time. And then I solo games a lot on my time in between work. But what about you? How much do you play?
Not enough, honestly.
Oh, it's never enough.
Way more than I actually play. And my kids, it's not that they don't like board games. They do enjoy playing board games. But given the choice between iPad or video game and board games, the iPad and video games wins all the time. So on Sunday, we started introducing Screenless Sunday.
That's awesome.
And that was a friend of mine that was doing that. Now, for him, it didn't work. The whole family revolted, and it came to an end almost instantly. And I think because they were trying to do the whole Sunday. So we started implementing that where at 2:00, everybody comes to the living room.
That's awesome.
And the TV gets turned off, the phone gets turned off, the iPads get turned off, and we'll play some games. And they don't have to play games. They could read. They could do work on their models or something. I'm not making it mandatory that it's board games. But most of the time, that's what they end up doing and coming to the table and playing board games.
That's awesome.
And then we'll play from like 2 to 5 or 6 or so. So just kind of give us an afternoon of, okay, we're turning the screens off. We're actually interacting with each other.
Oh, yeah. It's great family time.
It's amazing, honestly. And it's there's so many different games. Like Formula D is one that they love, and everybody will be like, okay, yeah, let's play. Nobody argues. And what's great with Formula D is, because I have 2 boys and 2 stepkids as well, a stepdaughter and a stepson. So, and then with my spouse, that's 6 of us. So Formula D will play a large group of people.
Mm-hmm.
So then that's great for that. And then you have like the cars and you're racing and you got like your little shifter that you move things around. And as you shift up, you get a different dice that has bigger numbers. And then, oh, but now the turn is coming. So you really got to slow down. So you're trying to shift down. And if you kind of blow through the corner, then you have to take tire damage. Or it's neat and the kids love it. So it's a fun one. There'll be a few games like that everybody's kind of like, okay, yeah, this one we'll play.
That they all love.
Yeah, and then so we'll do that. And then the rest of the time during the week, my spouse will play with me. Probably a couple of times a week anyways, we'll sit down and kind of play a game.
That's awesome.
And at supper time, if I think of it, and I don't always, but that was another friend of mine that she would do that. She would bring a game during supper. So they made supper, they'd have a game, and it's just a simple game that doesn't take too much space that you can have on the table at the same time as you're eating.
Oh, that's
so
neat.
Something like, let's say, zombie dice.
Right.
Where you're just rolling dice and you pass it around.
Yeah.
But what was neat with that I realized is we'd be, like, normally we play supper. We eat supper. It comes to... I'm going to turn everything into a board game here, apparently. We eat supper, and then the kids are done. They pack up, they put everything in the dish, and they're done. And they're gone, right? Like,
right.
But if we have a game going at supper time,
then they'll stick around.
And they stick around.
Well, that's a
and
good
they'll
idea.
at least to end the game or whatever. So, and sometimes if it's a game that's really great, they'll kind of be like, okay, well, let's play another one, or like, so it's, yeah, so that's how much. And then, yeah, I'll try to do a couple of gaming sessions, probably like try to have like a game night, like a bigger one with inviting the gaming group and the friends about once a month.
Yeah.
And I'll do like a big game weekend on my birthday. I call it Melcon.
Right. Yeah, that was.
So my birthday would do the Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
That's awesome.
It's great. And so, yeah, on the day-to-day, like, I mean, I work full-time at a pharmacy still. So, and then with COVID right now, it's been insane in there. So it kind of eats away at a lot of the time that could be spent gaming. But, so for now, it's a little limiting trying to find the time. But it's just so good. I love it.
I know. There's never enough. I could... No. When we have game days where we have a friend come down from Calgary and we play usually some heavy Euros from about 10 in the morning till midnight. And my family's just like, you sat and played games for that long? But time just goes so fast. You're playing a 2-3 hour game. It feels like a half an hour.
Yeah, a good game for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like when I played Nemesis, I had my neighbor Lyle came over, and then my friend Michael had brought it, and we played Nemesis. Now, I think we sat down and played Nemesis. It was like 3.5 hours. And then by the time the game ended, we sat up and kind of looked at the time. I was like, whoa, where did the time go? Like, it was so, you got so into the theme and into the game and into like, it just, the time flew by. You didn't realize.
Yeah. I know time is a different like capsule sort of when you're gaming. It doesn't feel like the same in real life. It just goes so fast.
Yeah.
So any other games or situations that you can think of that also added to your hobby?
Added to the hobby, like other than actually playing the game, what else is involved with the hobby, you mean? Or
well, just like, I know I've been to a few conventions. I was on the Dice Tower cruise. That's the only big convention I went to. It was so fun. Right. It was awesome. But other than local conventions, meaning like in Calgary and Edmonton, which is on either side of me, I'm in Red Deer, Alberta.
Yeah, that works great.
That's about all I've been to. Really.
Yeah, no, so far I've been to the Fall Con, so that's the convention in Calgary. Yes, I love that one. Yeah. It's a great one. It was funny, actually, because when I first got kind of more into board games, a friend of mine says, hey, go check out the Calgary board game group. I think you would like that. And then I joined that Facebook page, and every time I would play, I'd post a picture, and I would play, and I would post a picture, and I'd play, and I'd post a picture. And then I didn't realize how much I posted on there, but I went to Shoebox in Calgary, which is a board game store there. Mm-hmm. And I was at Shoebox, and I'm looking at the games, and I turned around, and there's a bunch of tables set up to play. And I turned around, and there's 3 or 4 people staring at me. And it was like to the point where it was awkward, like enough to be like, okay. I kind of turned back to the games. I was like, that was weird. And then I kept looking at the games, and I kind of looked back again, and they're still all staring at me. Not everybody in the room, but like 2 or 3 people are staring at me. So I'm like, it's kind of like, it was like, oh my God, is like my shirt stuck in, like there's something going on. And then one of them got up and came to where I was at the games, and we got kind of, I was like, oh, hey, how are you doing? I was like, oh, good. How, like, he was like, oh, you're looking at a specific game? I was like, oh, I don't know. I know I'm going home with something. I haven't decided what. And then kind of got chatting about the board games. And then he's like, so you're Melanie, aren't you? From the board game group? And I was like,
oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Like, I posted so much that like they recognized me from Facebook. And I didn't realize that's what that was about. I was like, oh, yeah. He's like, yeah, I've seen your post on Facebook.
That's cool.
Hi. I was like, oh, hi. So it was so weird. And then I went that year to and that was in 2018. So that was the first time I went to FallCon. Mm-hmm. So I went to FallCon, and then I remember I walked by a table, and a couple of guys were sitting down to play the game Oh My Goods.
Oh, yeah.
And that was like when I was at Shoebox, that's the game I had ended up buying, Oh My Goods. And because I had seen a video of it, and it looked cool with the cards. The cards could be used really in multiple different ways, depending, but I had never played it yet. So when I saw them sit down, I was like, hey, I just bought this game. Do you guys mind if I sit down and watch? Now, I went to FallCon by myself, right? Oh, yeah. So I would kind of hop, from table to table and kind of force myself onto these groups. But so I sat down and watched them play this game, and it was funny because during the duration of the game, 2 or 3 people stop by the table and say, oh, hey, I just wanted to say hi, you're Melanie, right? I saw you on the Facebook group. And so this happened a few times, and then the guys at the table that were playing the game, they kind of looked at me and they're like, are you like a celebrity or something? And I was like, oh, yeah, you should probably get my autograph.
I just post a lot.
I just post a lot. I was just, I'm just too active on Facebook, apparently. It was hilarious. But because of that, FallCon approached me, and they said, hey, we're wondering if you want to join the team and take over the Facebook posting.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, so I was like, so I'm actually part of a team that will post on Facebook. So, a couple times a week, I'll do some posts for FallCon and kind of join the FallCon group that way. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, it's just kind of, I didn't realize I was posting so much, but apparently, and that hasn't changed, honestly. I still do post on Facebook and Instagram now quite a bit. But, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's all good. The more, the better, I think. Mm-hmm. I don't post a whole lot on Facebook, but on Instagram I do. I like taking pictures and posting those. I love looking at pictures of games too on there.
Yeah. I keep getting kind of caught up on those challenges they have on Instagram. Like, honestly, I wake up in the morning, and I'm an early riser. Like, I'll wake up at around 6. Mm-hmm. So I get up at 6, and then it's kind of like, okay, what's the theme? I was like, oh, shoot, okay, what's... Like, and then, like, I spend my first half hour kind of coming up with pictures or taking pictures of Boardgame to post on these challenge, or, like we got the Thematic Thursday and Mechanism Tuesday. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, my God, me too. And then during the month of October, they had like where it was like a horror theme or something, or like a fear, and it was like you kind of took different fears. So I'm taking all these pictures, and it's like, okay, this is like taking a life on itself.
Yeah,
like
it is.
But it's neat, and I love seeing what everybody else is posting, and so it's great. But yeah,
it's really good. So back to some of the games that brought you into the hobby. What would you say are your top 3 starter games?
Starter games. When I get somebody new, which game would I kind of bring out to get them
what would
to play?
You pull out if you had a friend coming over and she's not really a gamer, but said, oh, you know what, let's play a few games?
Yeah, and it will depend on the circumstances and who you're playing with.
Yes.
But I love Pandemic.
Yeah, it's really good.
That one is one that it's such a unique mechanism. Like if you're used to playing Monopoly or Sorry or those type of game and you pull out Pandemic, it's kind of like, what just happened?
Yeah. We can be not competitive. We can cooperate.
Yeah, exactly.
In a game.
It's like to cooperate, and then that makes it easier, I think, to learn as well. Because kind of like, okay, but I don't know what to do, but you can kind of be like, okay, well, we've got a lot of blue cubes here, and that's getting out of control. So you could travel there, or you could do this. So you can kind of help them along until they kind of get the feel of it.
Yeah.
And you got to be careful not to just manhandle everybody and take over. But
yes.
That was one that was neat. And I remember I played with a pharmacist that I was like, oh, pharmacy, you'll love this game. It's like, and your pharmacist will win instantly. And we lost in 3 rounds. It's like, wow. It's like, okay, let's do this again. And then we played it again. But that's one that I think goes over well. I also like Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle.
Is that one cooperative as well?
You know what? And it is, and it's a deck builder one. And I don't think it's because it is cooperative, but I think that's just like Harry Potter is such a well-known theme that that alone will bring a lot of people in if they're kind of into the Harry Potter.
Right.
And you start with year 1 and you progress, and then like the progression of it, how it kind of slowly ramps up, makes it a great and easy way to have people kind of join. It's like, because you start at the first year and it's pretty straightforward and simple, and they start adding more element to it as you kind of ramp up year after year after year. And I wouldn't, like with new players, you wouldn't go through the whole 7 years that you can reach. It would be kind of 1, maybe 2. But it's one that's really well received. Another one that I would say is Dice Throne, actually.
Yeah.
I love Dice Throne. That one probably shines best at 2 players. You can play multiplayers, but I think it is best as a 2-player game. But that one, the artwork is gorgeous. The custom dice for each character is so neat. And it's one that's really fairly simple to play, but it's so fun. Because you got your character and you got the different attacks that each one can do, and you're just rolling the dice trying to get the proper symbols to activate those attacks. And then when you do, you attack the other player, and then each character plays completely different, but it's all the same mechanism. So it's a neat one, and I think it's always one that's fairly well received.
Yeah.
What about
people
you?
love throwing dice.
Oh yeah, for sure, right?
Yeah. So that was, you said 3? Pandemic, Dice Throne,
and Harry Potter.
Oh, right, and Harry Potter. Yeah. So the 3 I would bring out at a chance that I would get to teach someone some new games that is not a gamer. The first one I'd probably pull out is King Domino.
Oh, I played that one for the first time last week.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, just King Domino, not Queen Domino or Origins. Those are the little more difficult versions. Origins is the best, though, because you can have 3 different modes of play. But just base King Domino. Everybody's played dominoes, I'm sure, once in their life. So it's easy because you're just connecting terrain, right? So you have to have one side of the domino match with the terrain on one of the other sides. But it also adds in, with your crowns, you try to get multiple crowns in the same area as the same color so that you can have a greater area control. It's not area control, but like you can have more...
build up your clusters.
Yeah, build up your cluster. And with as many crowns as you can, because that gives you the multipliers. But it's such an easy game to learn. I mean, you can learn it in probably 2 minutes, literally. And then just tile placing in general, it was one of my favorite genres. But I think a lot of people, especially if they're tactile, you like placing tiles on a board, and you have your own little tableau that you get to build. Nobody can steal it from you. It's not too controversial. It's fun. I think it's a good one. Another one is Paper Tales. Have you ever played that?
I haven't.
It's if people are ever Scrabble players, this is the next best thing, I think, because it's you get deck building in there, but you're building words, and then you can buy different letters to add to your deck. You can buy little attack cards that'll like make the other person lose a few letters from their hand. So it makes it a little bit harder for them to make words, but it's really good. I like that one. That one's a good starter game. And the other one is Sushi Roll. I don't know if you've ever played Sushi Go, which is a common beginner drafting game. But with the dice, I mean, everybody loves dice. Who doesn't love throwing dice? Yeah. It's so fun. And it's just basically set collection. But with cute little sushi.
I've got all the, Sushi Go Party, and Sushi Roll.
Yeah.
I think my favorite is still the Sushi Go Party with the cards.
Yeah, there's more variety in there, I think.
Yeah.
Than the dice. The dice game is based off just Sushi Go. So I'm sure there'll be some expansions to make it like Sushi Roll Party soon.
There you go.
Yeah. But there's still so many other games. Like Carcassonne would be another one that's be
Carcassonne
easy.
Would be a great one for sure.
You pull out the box. There's no setup.
Yeah.
You just each grab a tile
if you
and
have
go.
a bit of a bigger group.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it really kind of depends on the situation, the who you're playing with, how many people you're playing with, and who's all coming together. But
yeah, exactly. If there's a bunch of people, you might need to pull out a party game or something like that. But
yeah. So how about your game collection? Like, how did that evolve? What did that look like at the beginning? Like you said, you had lots of games for your kids, mostly that kind of what you were collecting in the party game. How did that evolve?
Yeah, so I had tons of kids games because all of my old childhood games, I think my dad went through the whole house and chucked all our childhood games. Which he just thought we were done with, right? And then I went one day to look and I'm like, no, they're all gone. But so I kind of started collecting some of those for the kids, like Guess Who, Junior Scrabble, all those kind of games. So I have tons of those. And then when I started buying the modern board games, after, like I said, Viticulture, Stone Age, Carcassonne, after that, it just kind of took off when I started going to the board game cafe here. Almost every Saturday, then I'd bring home another game. I'd play something there. I'm like, I gotta have this one. And then, found Board Game Bliss, our Canadian online site. They're great. They have great prices there. And by watching videos and just keeping up in the hobby of all the new games coming out and all the really good old games, like you just keep buying and trading, finding the used game sites that in Calgary and Edmonton, it's bigger there, a good trading area. But I've just bought, I don't know how many I would have bought per month, but I'm up to over 500 now.
Wow.
That's including all my little card games, which I love too. I love, I love almost all the genres. The only ones I'm not really into are the dungeon crawlers. I'm not into those. Really? I have played a few, but they're just not something that draws me in. I'm more about the Euros, the card games, the dice games. And for me, that was
area control.
You don't like area control?
Like growing up, my brother used to make me play Risk.
Oh, yeah.
And Risk went on forever.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd be like, okay, I'm done. And he's like, no, you can't quit.
Yeah.
And I couldn't go on suicide missions and just slowly kill myself off, right? Like he would like insist we play this whole game. So now I don't want to play Risk.
No.
And I see Risk, I'm like, ugh. So then I was like, oh, I don't like area control.
No.
But then I played Tiny Epic Kingdoms, and I loved it.
Yeah.
And that's area control. And then I played Viral.
Oh, yeah,
and
that's
Viral's
a big
neat. Like, you have the body and your microbes, and you're trying to get the different organs sick. And then it is definitely an area control game, and it's great. So I was like, oh, so maybe I do like area control. It's just Risk itself, apparently.
Have you played Mission Red Planet?
No, I have not.
See, and I'm not a big area control lover either. But you should try that one. That one's, it's kind of neat.
I've played Small World the one time.
Yeah, I've tried that
now,
too.
And to be fair, I had never played it. I played with a bunch of new people that had never played it, and I was reading the rules, trying to learn how to play. And that one felt a little too much like Risk to me, and I was kind of like, yeah, maybe not this one. And I've only played it that one time, but I know some people love it. So, and I wonder, so area control is, if you say area control, you're not winning me over with just that, right?
Yeah, I would say me too. That's not one of my go-tos for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, with my collection, when I first got, after my brother kind of gifted me that game, and when I first got started, I lived in a tiny home at the time. So I had one closet, and I mean, I Tetris the games in there like you wouldn't believe, because that was all
That's a game in itself.
Isn't it though? So, and that's when I discovered the Tiny Epic games, because that was great. Like, it was a tiny little box, but when you opened the game and you pulled out the cards and you built your board, and like, it was a nice big game, but it took almost no space at all. So I had kind of got into getting all the Tiny Epic games at that time. And then I had, probably when I got into the hobby, I probably would have had about 50 of the party games, right? Like the Tribon and that sort of stuff. So as my collection was growing and I had to kind of fit it in this collection, those started coming out, and then Monopoly came out, and it was like, so the Scrabble came out, and then I was starting to kind of slowly replace with some of the other games I was coming across. I was starting to go to Shoebox. They were doing a Wednesday night game night, where different people would go and they would showcase a different game. And then if you bought that game, you kind of got it a bit of a discount that night. So then I would start buying those games. And then I discovered the board game exchange group on Facebook. So then I started, I started buying. I never really mastered the selling the board games portion of it yet. And then my friend Lyle, a neighbor of mine here, he would kind of start selling his, I swear, like a third of my collection comes from his. So buying secondhand game kind of kept it. But I really went with, if it's meant to be, it'll cross my path. And that's how I've kind of kept things under control. So I almost never look online, like at Board Game Bliss, that sort of, like, I try not to shop online, because I find, like, if I open that Pandora's box, nothing's going to stop me. So I kind of take more the path of, if I come across it,
if it shows up,
but then the auctions and the flea market at FallCon. Like,
those are awesome.
I came home with 60 games.
60?
60, yeah, 60 games. It was ridiculous. Like, a lot of little ones and stuff. And then some of them I had kind of got to donate to the museum here, because they were starting a game event there, and of course COVID happened, so then that stopped. But so I had purchased a couple for them. But it's grown. When I first got started, I was, like I said, about at 50. I would say a year ago I was at about 250. I'm sitting at 350 now. Yeah. So, and I was kind of a late bloomer with this, because I started it in the hobby in 2017, so it's not tons of time. But what's great with that is, like, the older games, they're still new to me. Yeah. Right? Like, so they're all new to me. So, it's been really neat, just kind of discovering the different games, the different mechanism, what's kind of, you'll see that repeats in the other games, and it's been so good. Yeah. Yeah.
And then I know people will ask me, like, why do you want so many? Like, what... Are you going to play all of them? Well, yes, I plan to. But I think it's the search for the perfect game and just unique experiences. Like, if I find a game I like and then I love it, and I'll search for other games that are similar to give me that experience, a little bit different, but the same, kind of. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's kind of having that perfect game for the different situations.
Exactly. Always
It's kind
hunting
of
for,
like,
oh, this person will love this. They'll
yeah.
love playing this with me.
Well, it's funny. My coworker's husband's kind of like, no, I don't really like board games. And I was like, I guarantee I have a game you will like. I was like,
Yes.
I don't know which one it
It's
is yet, but
something everyone will like.
guaranteed I have a game you will like. And he's like, okay, well, I'll come over and try one time. And he came over and I made him play Memoir 44.
And he liked it.
He loved it.
Huh.
And he went out and bought it.
Oh,
And
perfect.
Memoir 44 is amazing. And that means the theme, well, for him, probably appealed to him more. Like, for me, it's like, I'm not big into the army theme and all that
Mm-hmm.
sort of stuff per se, but it was such a great game. And it was funny because my brother had it and he kept bugging me to play it, but he kept wanting to play it when there was other people around. And Memoir 44 is a two-player game. That's,
Oh.
like it's a two-player. One person plays as the allies, the other player, as a, so, but I was like, okay, fine, I'll play it this one time. And I sat down with my brother and you play it. And then you kind of open the map because there's a bunch of different scenarios. And what's really neat is it's very historically accurate. This is replaying the battles of Normandy in World War II. And it kind of says, this is what was happening. And then this general was doing this. And this is how the battle got set up. And you set up all your things to match. And then you replay that battle. And you have the cards that'll be like, okay, well, the cards that you have kind of indicates which troop you'll be able to control, like, because you get the middle of the board, you got the left side and the right side, and it's like, well, I have a card that'll move the ones on the right side. I need to get a card that can move on the left side, but I don't have that yet, so you kind of concentrate. And it played pretty quick, like 30 minutes, 45 minutes, the battle is done. And it was amazing. It was so good. And after I finished playing this game, I was like, oh my God, it's like, my brother's like, I told you to play this with me. And I was like, I need this game. And this is the one game that I went and hunted down. Like, I didn't wait for this to just
You were waiting for that one.
somehow. Like, I went and hunted this game down, and it was so good. But yeah. And then, yeah, Memoir 44, like, war theme. Like, it's like, okay. It's
Not
like,
something you would have went and looked for.
And it's not something I would have gone to look for. It's not something that I would have thought would have appealed, and probably why I was like, well, no, let's not play this yet. Like, let's play the other games. But so good. This one is like my top 5 for sure.
Oh, really?
Oh, it's so good. I joined a Memoir 44 Facebook group, and I was posting pictures of me and Jerome, my oldest son, playing on it. And this one guy's like, oh, I'm going to send you some stuff for it. And he creates like 3D components with the, I don't know, clay or something in it.
Ooh,
and then the trees. And then like, it looks so good. So he sent me all of those just because. And then I play with them, and then the board. And it's one of those games you play. The game is fun. And then the look of the game is just gorgeous. And you have the little tanks and the little army guys. And it's like, wow. It's neat.
That's cool.
Did you have a game like that kind of wowed you?
Oh, jeez. What would have wowed me? They all kind of wow me because I'll go home at night and think about them.
Apparently one time I yelled out, "Go Sushi Go," in my sleep. So I even dream of board games.
Oh, yeah. Especially like... what are they called? The abstract games. Those will be racing in my head at night.
Oh, really?
Like, oh, I know this move would have been better. And
nice.
It just, like, I play them over and over and over in my head.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the sign of a good game then.
Yeah, exactly. When you keep thinking about it. And there's sometimes I'll play games I'm like, oh, I hated that. But then I think about it all night. It's like, oh. And then you got to try it again. And then you're hooked.
That's like with Lee, my spouse. We were playing Gyrating Hamster, which is kind of a take that card game.
Oh, yeah.
You're collecting hamsters and you're building a horde of hamsters and you're trying to reach so many.
Oh, there, you're back.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what happened here. I must have leaned the wrong way or actually set my mute button. But yeah, so with this Gyrating Hamster, like you're collecting hamsters, but it has a lot of take that. So you go from like having 12 hamsters about to win, and then all of a sudden a card comes out and you're down to 5. And
jeez.
a lot of frustration. So to the point where Lee was like, that's it, I'm never playing this game again. And we went to bed. And then he's obviously thinking about it, because then he rolls over and he looks at me. He's like, okay, let's go try it one more time. And we got up and went back to the table and played this gyrating hamster one more time. And like that must be one of my most played games, like over the last couple of years. Like it's kind of like a mean, addicting one. it's like, no, I'm gonna win this time. And it's you're not playing the game. It's funny.
Oh, I know. I did have an experience with brass. I don't remember if it was the Lancashire. I think it was Lancashire. I played it the first time at Gobfest, which is a convention in Edmonton. We were taught the game, and I hated it. Absolutely hated it. But thought about it for weeks after, and then played it one more time. And then I was still kind of like, I don't know, but it still kept like sitting in my head all the time. And then played it a couple times more, and I do really like it. But it's weird how I absolutely hated that game, and then, grown to like it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Evolution was like that for me. I didn't hate it. It was okay.
Yeah.
But every time I play it, it's like, oh, okay, wait, this is a good game. And then I play it again, it's like, whoa, this is a really good game. And then we play it again, it's like, like it just gets better and better every time we play it. Yeah.
And some games I can appreciate and respect the design of them and that they are good games, but I just don't like them. Yeah. Which is usually with some dungeon crawlers. Like I've played the odd one, Jaws of the Lion. I tried one scenario.
Really? And, well, if you don't like dungeon crawls, right?
And it's good. Like I respect the mechanics and everything, but it just doesn't, I don't know. I think maybe it's the theme. It just doesn't draw me in.
Nice.
Give me a beige Euro and I'm usually in.
And it's great. And then I have the big Gloomhaven to kind of play afterwards. But but I mean, I guess if it doesn't click, it doesn't click.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But now at least, I used to just be like, oh, that's a stupid game. But now I don't feel the same way. I'll be like, I do understand. This is like a well-made, well-designed, a really good game. But it's just not for me. I mean, when you've played so many games, you can't love them all. I do love a lot of them, though.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Which one? I'm trying to think of one that I played and I was like, eh. And I can't think of one off the top of my head. You know what? Actually, there was this one game. It was a Harry Potter game. And my friend loves Harry Potter, so she has all the Harry Potter games. And I can't even remember what it was called, but it was a dice rolling thing. Oh. And you would roll the dice and you would try to... And it was like, yeah, I could have not played that and be okay.
Yeah.
Like, it was just... Okay, it was Harry Potter, you rolled, and it was just, it felt so, I don't know what was about it that was just didn't grasp me. Oh, that and Killer Bunnies.
Oh, I don't know what that
is. The Killer Bunny game, like you're doing this whole game and you're playing these cards and you're trying to collect things and then you're collecting these carrots and then, so the gameplay itself was okay. And then the one that I played, he had a bunch of expansions in it as well. So you're playing the game and then at the end of the game, you randomly pick a carrot. And it's whoever has that carrot's the winner. Oh,
that's so random.
Like, are you kidding me? We just did this whole thing just to randomly pick a winner. And of course, the more carrots you have, the higher probability of you being picked, goes up as well. Yeah. But it was just like, to me, it was just like, we just did all this just to kind of randomly pick. I was like, oh,
yeah.
Oh no. Yeah, so that one was
super luck driven. Yeah.
It was like the whole game was interesting and you're playing, it was just like, and then that ending, that just wrecked it for me. It's like, okay, now the winner is whoever has carrot B or whatever.
Oh my gosh.
So it's like, what?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, no.
No, that's with me and luck-driven games, they're not my favorite. Unless it's like a quick game and I know it's basically just luck, then like I'll play some of those quick ones, but not. I don't like a lot of luck. Like we play some games like I gotta think. That's so luck-driven. Well, like Skip-O and.
For sure.
It's just kind of like I do enjoy it still, but I mean sometimes I have a pile of cards that I can play all in 2 turns. You know. And
no, for sure. I find though with the luck driven game, it's like the great equalizer between the different skill levels.
Oh yeah.
Because you'll play, somebody who's brand new, who's never played, they lose constantly.
Oh yeah, that's
it's hard
fun.
to kind of enjoy.
No.
Yeah. So when you have a luck-driven game, doesn't matter if somebody's super great at this game kind of levels everything out.
Yeah. You're right.
Have you ever played that one?
Which one?
Get Bit.
No, but I do know how it plays. It looks kind of fun.
You've got like your little robots and you got the shark at the end and you just pick a card. And then whoever's like number 1 will be moved to the front first. But then number 2 goes. So eventually the number 1 or the lowest number 1 will make their way back to the back of the line. So you don't want to play like you're too much of your lower numbers because you're trying to not to be at the back of the line because whoever's at the back of the line loses a limb to the shark. Right? So I thought this would be great with the boys. But if anybody plays 2 of the same cards, well, then they don't move at all. They eliminate each other. So then if they do that, then they kind of end up staying at the back of the line. So there's kind of benefits to that. But it's completely luck driven. There's really no real strategy there.
Right. It's whatever you pull.
It's luck of the draw, basically. Yeah. I mean, you get to pick the card, but so that was great. Like I remember one evening we were playing in this, my friend Travis was just slaughtering us at all the games. And I was like, Kate, that's it. We're playing Get Bit. And then, like other people finally had a chance to win.
No, you're right. So, that does. Yeah. It does equalize, especially if you have a gamer and they can't strategize.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, now, so you're on Instagram.
Yes.
And what's your name on Instagram?
I'm the board game specialist on Instagram.
Perfect. So guys, make sure you follow her on Instagram and look her up, Board Game Specialist. I'm on Instagram as well as boardgame_mama. Mama means mom in French. And I didn't think anything of it that anybody didn't know this, but so many people were reading mama because it's MAMAN. Like doesn't realize that it's not my man. Right?
My man.
So, I'm Board Game Mama or Board Game My Man, whatever way you want to read it. And my YouTube channel is also as well Board Game Mama. But I think we should talk about a bit about what our plan is with this podcast and probably get into the wrapping it up. So I think we're planning on doing this weekly.
Yes, we are.
And we're talking, just to be able to have a conversation, talk about what we've been playing, different aspect of the board gaming hobby, and then probably do a bunch of top 9 lists for different topics. That sounds about right to you, Carla?
Yes, we love lists. I love listening to lists, I love watching lists, and I love making lists. So you'll get lots of lists. But yes, there's so many topics we want to cover and so much to share with you guys from all our gaming experience and things to look forward to. That, I think, like you said, we want to do this weekly for sure.
I think we've got enough to talk about to cover something every week.
Oh yeah, for sure we do.
I'm sure we do. All right, so I think we'll leave it at this for our very first podcast. We're excited that everybody could join and listen to us yabber on about board games. And we will see you we'll hear you next week. I guess we're not seeing anybody.
Yeah, you'll hear us.
So yeah, exactly. You'll hear us next week. So I was Melanie.
And I'm Carla.
And we'll see you next week.
Sounds good. See you later. Bye.
Bye.